Hello and welcome. I'm Peggy, and today we have some good information to share with you. It could even be life-saving. And I just think that sometimes we do foolish things that we don't even realize, and they can be very harmful. And I'm really pleased to have from the Palmetto Poison Center in Columbia, my special guest. I welcome Christina Rienzo, right?
Yes, ma'am.
It's a lovely name.
Thank you.
And you are the education coordinator
Yes, ma'am.
for the Poison Center.
Yes, ma'am.
Let's just start with what are some of the stupid things, thoughtless things we all do that can cause real danger and sometimes even life-threatening.
Well, poisons in general can be anything and everything that goes into your body or on your body that doesn't belong there. So it's not something that's some huge chemical you may think about. These are the things that you actually have in your home, things that are in the bathroom cabinet, underneath the kitchen sink, even in a woman's purse. And the reason people get into things is because they don't pay attention. Sometimes they don't read the labels.
Oh boy, yeah.
And then a lot of times it's just little children. They learn through their environment, using their senses. They taste, touch, and smell everything. And that's what causes a lot of the harm. Just things that they find, for instance, maybe in their mother's purse, a medication that she may have. If you think about the average female that has a purse, think of the things that are in there. There's makeup in there. There may be some type of pain relieving product in there, chapstick, something like that. Children eat that. So we do have to think about these are common things that get people into trouble every day.
And you deal with this. You try to go out and educate people so that these things don't occur.
Right, we do. That's a big part of what we do is education, but we're a 24-hour phone service. So just like if you were to visit a physician's practice or a hospital, you receive medical treatment. It just so happens that you actually get this over the phone. But when you call us, you get a nurse or a pharmacist, or if we have to send it further up the chain for a medical doctor to evaluate, we do that as well.
And that we do have an 800 number. And maybe you might want to jot that number down just to have it. It's 1-800-222-1222. And if you or your child or something ever becomes compromised with something, that's a number you can call and tell what happened, and they will give you advice as to what you should do.
Absolutely. The average phone call is usually answered within less than a minute. We can address the problem. Now, when you do call us, we're going to ask you specific information. We're going to ask the age, the weight of the patient, whether that's a child or yourself, and then we also ask for your zip code for identification purposes. That helps us track where the locations are of these instances that are happening, just in case we need to tailor something to go out into that area.
And there is a website, www.poison.sc.edu. Those are things you just might want to keep.
Absolutely. If you go on our website, there's a lot of great information for senior adults, parents, just general population. There's also some links on there where you can order free materials.
What are some of the dangers? People take other people's medication.
They do, just because, let's say for instance, someone has a cold or maybe something along those lines, and someone had recently went to their doctor, maybe a friend of theirs, they didn't finish their antibiotics. They may call that friend up and say, hey, I know you went to the doctor recently. Do you have any antibiotics left? That's an example of sharing medications or sharing someone's pain medications. Maybe someone has a chronic back problem and they have prescription pain medicines. We see people share those as well. Sharing any medication is never recommended because that medication was prescribed for that person. They may have unknown allergies or it may interact with medicines that they're currently taking, so never do that.
And you should always be aware of the medicines that you are taking before you add something else.
Absolutely. When you visit a doctor, you always see the signs most likely when you go into a doctor's office. Have a list of your current medications or bring them with you because that doctor needs to know what you're taking.
Yeah, they can't read your mind.
Exactly. And not all doctors' offices are linked and they can't all pull your records. You may visit your urologist and your general practitioner. They may not have a clue what you're taking from the other physician. You've got to disclose that.
And also the strength of it.
Absolutely, that's important.
If you take your medicines with you, the doctor or the nurse can look at it and see how strong it is, or so that they know.
Right, because it's a big deal. They need to know that, because sometimes, let's say you go in for something like a high blood pressure, maybe it's not being controlled. It may be the fact that they need to adjust your dose, but we also urge patients to be honest with their doctor. If they're not taking it because they're having side effects from it, say they're nauseous or it's giving them a headache, if they're not compliant in taking their medication as prescribed, and then the doctor increases their dose because it's not treating their blood pressure.
And maybe they didn't need it increased.
That's exactly right. They just weren't taking it correctly. So they always need to be honest about how they're taking their medications on a consistent and regular basis.
Now, what about children and household cleaners and stuff that we never even think about? It's just there under the sink, and we use it and hopefully put it back. But there's been tragedy after tragedy of children getting involved in things.
Well, the reality is they're creatures of opportunity, so whatever's out there,
curious.
They're very curious, and that's how they learn through their environment. So we have to make sure we keep all of these things up and out of the reach. Now, if you look at, for instance, this product, if you look at the product labeling, there are pictures of strawberries and apples and fruit on there.
It's a very pretty label.
It is, so it's enticing to a small child. Not only that, but if you think about the color of it, it looks like fruit juice. They can't read. You know, 3-year-olds, I mean, some 3-year-olds can read, but for the majority, they don't understand that this is something that can harm them. Not only that, but it smells good.
Well, now, what is this?
This is a type of cleaner that you may use in the bathroom or to clean floors.
See, just sitting here looking at it, I thought it was a bottle of juice.
Oh, and they do. When we go into the elementary schools, a lot of times we'll ask, groups of older children that should know, raise your hand if you think this is something that you can eat or drink, and they do. Not all of them do, but some of them do, and it's just, the reality is, things that look like products that are safe are what get kids into trouble, because they interpret it as being something that's okay for them to eat or drink.
It's very attractive.
It is. And they're, if you just think about going through the store shelves in a supermarket, they're everywhere. All different types of products that look like something that are safe for them, that they are accustomed to. So if you think about this, a little child maybe have had some type of red Kool-Aid, and then they see this and they think it's the same thing. So.
Okay. And you should never tamper with the labels, right?
No.
Leave the labels on the product.
You do, but if you think about when you use a cleaner, you have to dilute it. You have to add water. Typically that involves putting it in some other type of container. One of the worst containers you can do, and people do this a lot, is put it in something like a soft drink bottle or a cup, and then they leave it sitting out when they're done. Well, when it's just sitting there, I mean, even adults can come behind and drink that because they don't realize that it's something that is a cleaner. Anytime you use a product outside of the original container, when you are done with it, you need to discard it and throw it away.
Okay, what are some of these other things?
These are just other examples of products that look alike. For instance, if you look at these, I'm going to have to look myself.
They look like those, what are they, gummy bears or something?
They do. These are the gummy bears, and this is the medicine, which are vitamins. So really common mistake in children.
That's amazing.
They look almost identical in their colors. They're squishy just the same, they smell the same, and taste the same. So little kids...
frankly, I can't tell the difference.
Well, I do this every day, so that's why I can.
This is the gummy bear, I guess.
Yes, ma'am, and that's the medicine, which is a vitamin. But there are a lot, if you think about the number of medications that look like candy, for instance, if you think about just a Tylenol or acetaminophen product, it is red and round. And what does that look like? What type of candy? Skittles or an M&M? So something very similar. And it gets kids into trouble because they...
What is that?
It's a pain relief, acetaminophen.
Okay.
So you really have to be cautious and just teach kids. The general rule is to ask before they eat or drink anything. Now, whether that happens or not, the other thing, we have to make sure we keep everything up high and out of the reach of small children.
This fascinates me.
Yes.
I never saw this before. It's called Monster Rehab. It's a hideous looking can, I think. What is it?
It's an energy drink. There are a ton of energy drinks out on the market.
Monster Rehab.
Loaded with caffeine.
What would this do for you?
Well, it can increase your heart rate significantly. In children that we may not know that has an undiagnosed heart condition can cause a lot of problems. People overconsume them. There's a lot of caffeine in them. It's just not a good product to take a lot of, especially just because of the heart rate issue.
Where would you buy this?
You can buy that anywhere from a general store to a supermarket to a gas station. If you go in any gas station, they usually have a full selection of energy drinks.
Would this be like somebody who's driving and they get drowsy and they would use this to keep awake on the road? Is that kind of...
They can use them for that, and some people just drink. It's almost like a cup of coffee in the morning to them. They drink that versus a cup of coffee to get caffeine. But a lot of them are highly concentrated in caffeine labels, and not all of them are always labeled with how much caffeine they have in them.
So this you definitely would want to keep out of the reach of children.
You do, but anything like that. For instance, this is a powdered version of it that you would add to your drink, something like a Crystal Light or a Kool-Aid powder mixed in.
Extreme energy formula.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh,
so
it's called Burst.
And they
what is it, blue?
Probably just blue raspberry Burst.
Yeah.
But it comes in.
And you add this to what? To water?
Just a water bottle. Just a water bottle, which looks identical to some other type of sweetened water beverage you may put in there, like a Crystal Light type product or a Kool-Aid product that are really popular to put in waters for children. So we just have to make sure that we're using something like that. If adults are using it, which is totally legal for them to do, that they keep it out of the reach of small children. Also teenagers. A lot of teenagers are drinking energy type drinks and drink too many and end up getting sick and may end up even in the hospital with it because they overconsumed. So we really need to be cautious with when and how much they drink.
This is an eye-opener to me, and I bet it is to a lot of people.
It is, because a lot of people don't realize just the consequence from drinking so much of something like that.
And what are these other things?
These are just common things. A really scary problem are button batteries. Button batteries are found in things that light up and make noise that don't have a power source. So this is just an example of a card.
Oh, yeah.
So if you think about that.
It says, sweeter than candy. Thank you. So this would be if somebody's done something nice and you want to thank them.
You want to thank them, but then the bad part about it is a little kid that gets a few minutes alone with that, they try to figure out what makes the noise and they pull the battery out and swallow it.
So deep down inside this card, and it wouldn't be too hard to get, is a little battery.
It's very easy to get these batteries out. They're in things like this, flameless candles, even the remote for your car. So when you give kids little things like that to play with, they can swallow them and actually burn a hole in their esophagus or in their intestinal tract.
So these are just common sense things that we don't think about.
Yeah, everything really that we do at the Poison Center are common sense things. The reality is those are the problems. The number one product that causes problems within South Carolina is a pain reliever, acetaminophen, because of its accessibility, where it's found, and just the general assumption that it's overly safe, which it is if you use it properly. But you really have to think about how many formulations of it. There are infants acetaminophen pain relief, there are children's pain relief, there's adult, there's arthritis formula. So there's all different strengths across the board of acetaminophen products, and they're fine if you use them as directed, but when you don't adhere to like the dosage warnings that come on the product label, there's a drug fact label on any type of medication that you can buy over the counter. It advises you how many to take within a 24-hour period. Well, a lot of times people don't pay attention.
So you're saying read the labels. Don't take other people's medication.
Correct.
And be sure, and then keep the things out of harm's way for little people.
Right, you have to keep it up high and out of reach.
Okay. Now, we are going to go to a break, I think, but I wanted to add, what is that that looks like something you put in a dishwasher.
This is actually a detergent pod for a dishwasher, but there are different types of detergent pods, those that wash clothes. We've had a lot of kids that have been severely had severe consequences from ingesting the detergent pods.
You mean they would tear this open and think it's candy or
right,
something?
and eat it, because a lot of them are brightly colored. The packaging is such that it's easily to access, but they still get into them.
Oh, I know. Kids are unbelievable when it great imaginations, you
Yes,
know.
they are.
And is there anything else down here? What is that?
These are glow sticks or glow earring. We always see during the month of October ingestions of glow stick products go up significantly because the kids will break them open.
Fun-light hoop
Those are earrings.
Oh boy.
They make everything that glows, from bracelets to necklaces to earrings to.
But how could this harm somebody?
Because they break it open and get the chemical out of it, and then swallow it, or even people intentionally put it on their skin as well. So.
Oh boy. All right. Non-toxic, hours of fun, ages 5 and up.
Yes.
For fun and safety. Even the package says that.
Right. Well, let's say, it helps to keep them illuminated during, trick-or-treating or things like that.
There's nothing wrong with this.
As long as you use it
the
as
way
directed.
it's meant to be used.
Correct. And that's the story for basically every product that we have out there. As long as you use it as directed, it's okay, but it's the people that don't use it correctly, and that's what gets people into trouble.
And so all of these things are readily available everywhere. And what would you say is your main, you get lots of phone calls, what are some of the main problems that you hear about?
Just accessibility, things being out where they're not supposed to be. Acetaminophen or pain relief is our number 1. Cosmetics and personal care products are the number 2 exposures that we get.
Cosmetics?
Yep, that's things like makeup or toothpaste or hydrocortisone cream, things like that are in tubes that may look like toothpaste, even toothpaste. We sometimes have children that will sit down and eat, half a tube of toothpaste. Now, is it going to give them long-term consequences? No, but they're going to have some tummy upset, vomiting, things of that nature. It's still a poison to us because it's not intended to be ingested.
And makeup?
Makeup, they'll eat lipstick or, now even some makeups can cause an allergic reaction in people, which is considered a poisoning. So you do have to think about all the different things out there that may not agree with other people too.
Okay, she does this. She tries to make people aware of the dangers as the education coordinator. And we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back, so stay with us.